Hello, Oscar.
Hi, Marius.
Another episode, I think we've missed a week or so, but oh well.
Yep.
Weird, interesting times these been. Um, I think today's we decided to talk a bit about the transition of studies into like full-time job. Well, not for you yet, but
Nope.
for me, it was that time where I've already spent what is it like a couple of weeks at least, or even almost a full month actually by now, actually working full time at a company. And oh well, it's been been quite a ride. So I said I'll tell you first thing. I guess it's the definition of what developer in my mind
Yes.
was and what it actually
Very keen
kind
to
of.
hear it.
Yeah, and it's like what it kind of feels like it is, right? So, just to explain to everyone, I've graduated computing, Oscar's yet to graduate, computing science, whatever. And a developer, is someone who creates applications like software engineer. I guess that's what my job role officially is. So, we're kind of in the field of creating software, creating things that run on computers, creating something that powers the world, as they say, in the cliche phrases and stuff. Um, but the thing is, I always had this kind of misconception in a way that a programmer, a developer, a software engineer is someone who, does what it says, programs. He sits down and writes code all day. And I remember having this very short, it was just not even an internship. It's like one day kind of like visit to an IBM office. And then the people who were guiding the tour, they got all the different people to come in and talk to us about their roles. So like there's this one guy who's like a project manager, there's this one guy who's like a data engineer, and there's this other guy who's a programmer. So I remember, I still remember to this day, like a programmer comes in and he's like, "Oh, you guys think that programming is a lot? No, you only program 10% of the day." And I was like, "Funny man, what the hell? How do you not like? What the hell? There's no way." And so yeah, I kind of at the same time, I'm just starting out, right? But it's already from the stories that I've heard from people who have been here for longer, is that maybe it's our team, maybe it's just the current product we're working on or something. But most of the stories, and for people to understand stories, is I'm referring to user stories from the agile development methodology, which is a programming kind of term, but it refers to the way projects are being managed, where you set out a a goal to achieve, and you split that into smaller chunks called, user stories, a thing which describes something a user wants to do. For example, uh, I want to click a button and the button says hello world or something, like very simple, right? So that would be considered a user story. And so you kind of pick them up, you work on them and stuff. So where I'm going with this is that most of them don't necessarily involve you programming. Most of them are like, it's all over the place. One of them can be like, implement some sort of a security feature in this Java language based project. The other one can be set up a Redis something on this Kubernetes cluster in this development environment or whatever. Uh, and it's like one of them, you can literally be like sitting in the terminal, just like writing commands because that's what your user story says, set it up or whatever. And the other one can actually be, yes, I'm coding, programming something. But usually it's not much programming or coding because, again, they want to split that into like small chunks, especially in a big company. Like currently, I'm in a pretty big company. Uh, they don't expect you to sit down and, create the whole prototype of some very new concept, right? They just want you to patch something, they want you to fix something up a bit. So, yeah, it is a bit of a varied um, daily, I guess, daily life. So far this week, I haven't been doing much at all. I was just pretty much in calls, sitting, looking at more experienced people try to solve the problem because we only currently have two big stories. Like the ones that I mentioned in the beginning, stories as in two big tasks to solve. But those big tasks are like pretty big, which means there's not enough tasks for everyone to pick up. Therefore, you get assigned together to work on the same thing. And oh well, we just get on the call and try to work on it. But because I don't understand anything, because I'm so new in there, I barely have things to contribute. So for the whole week, it just feels like I'm useless because I'm not really contributing anything. But then at the same time, you take a step back and realize, oh well, maybe they're not really expecting me to contribute anything because I'm new and I don't know anything, and they know that I don't know anything. So yeah, this kind of thing has been happening the past week. Just the feeling of uselessness, but at the same time, I've been like learning what stuff's like around and stuff. So I am
Mhm.
getting the hang of it. And I think this is the way at any job in a way, even if it's like
Mhm.
some manual, like what is it, apprenticeship or whatever when you call it, you
Oh,
you kind of like follow someone's day
yeah.
like and then just learn from it and then you get the hang of it and then you start leading the way to others and stuff. So I don't know. I guess it's maybe the part of a normal cycle. So
Mhm. Yeah.
it's been like that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd probably. Yeah, I'm wondering because like this is your first experience, I guess, with like a full-time job, and now
Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
this new idea of what a dev is. So now we can probably like cut down on the speculation of what a dev does generally. But do you think like it differs, depending on the size of the company, or maybe if it's a startup, or like it probably does. But how do you think it might differ? The
Yeah,
type kind
you're
of
actually
tasks
you're
that you're
you're you're
assigned.
really you're really actually hitting the nail on the head here. Startup is a very good buzzword and keyword in all this because I've even seen some people call out startup job ads on like, oh, looking for a head of tech, or no, not head of tech. What is the
CTO.
CTO, yeah, the chief technology officer. But then you realize that the company is only like three people and you're going to be the
Yeah.
only programmer there. So, sure, you're going to have a fancy title, but they
Mhm.
expect you to build the whole technology that they just conceptualized by yourself. You're going to
Mhm.
join the company and they're going to say, like, okay, well, we have a vision. We want you
Mhm.
to take your phone out, take a picture of a banana, and it's going to say if it's gone bad or
Mhm.
not. And then you're going to have to sit there, work on this whole solution by yourself. And obviously, it's not a bad thing if you are an experienced, senior programmer who's been in the industry for quite a while. Maybe you want some challenge and you want to take up something like that. But usually, it's not. Yeah, I've heard it's not the best thing to like go for something like that. Like smaller companies with more developers, naturally, you're gonna have less responsibilities. Um,
Mhm.
as
And
opposed to just a startup with like not many people.
before the call, you said something about the nature of how people end up in the wrong positions in organizations and companies. I think.
Mm.
Is this
Yeah. So
sounded
see,
because you're telling me you're a software engineer now, but when you were
yeah, I was.
having your
Oh,
job
so
offer.
no, I guess that was a bit different. Yeah, potentially what I meant um, was something to do with how like I felt like I have the most experience in C sharp programming language and some other technologies, right? And
Mhm.
I was hired in this team, and our team works on everything, feels like. Maybe no wonder the job posting said all these languages, because remember, I was joking about it with you. I was like, oh, they probably don't know what they want because they literally listed like seven languages or something, right?
Mhm.
But then I realized that actually we use all of them, which is like,
Right.
it's so weird. But then you realize that, yeah, this specific position is for all sorts of user stories, which again, I explained in the beginning,
Yeah.
where they involve different kind of technologies, different parts of our whole software thing. And
Right.
we are actually using like different languages.
That's
Um,
cool.
so maybe is like, maybe I should be, you know, some sort of a C sharp developer in some other company, which when hiring in the title, they say C sharp developer. Maybe in
Mm.
that case, I would be not like more appreciated, but more like my key skill set would be utilized the best. Because, for
Yeah.
example, if I have the most experience in C sharp, I should probably apply for a C sharp developer, and that's it. Now I am officially a C sharp developer, and skill set matches my job title. But
Mm.
at the same time, I realized that, yeah, I think this is a better place for me, at
Yeah.
least personally. I learn more technologies. I have
Yeah.
a bigger picture view of all the things that that's
Mm-hmm.
happening, and it's like I may as well. I think it matches my personality too. Remember how we used to talk about
Yeah. Yeah.
how I feel like I'm scattered all around, and I feel like I want to learn this and this and that. I think it's good for me personally. I think it's all right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. And I think like one of the things I've always said to you about like focusing on like a few things is that I maybe wouldn't find opportunities where somebody requires me to like know a lot of things, right?
Hmm.
Um, and that's actually really cool to know that that's the way it is in some places or
Yeah,
maybe
I
more
don't know. Just
places.
it seems like it's so accidentally. It happened so accidentally. At the same time, the don't know if I can share not share the story, but like, yeah, I got
Right.
hired for a different position. I got hired for a quality engineer rather than a software engineer. And my quality engineer journey was pretty short. I I went through the orientation program with like everyone else. We did all the onboarding and other stuff with like just general HR teams. And then I realized that now I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Um, so there was this person, a mentor, who was like a very senior quality engineer in the company. He was like kind of like walking me through setting up software and stuff and other technologies. And he's like, okay, well, we can, go on a call and like I'll walk you through more things and I'll explain you like what you're supposed to be doing. Because I was like, oh, yeah, nice, thank you, because that'll explain to me what my role is and what I'm supposed to be doing. And somehow that person, we just got on the call and he's like, from everything that I've seen about you, you don't strike me as a quality engineer. I'm like, yeah, what is a quality engineer? He's like, oh, well, okay, I'll explain to you what a quality engineer does and what your role will be. But if you don't even know what it is, why are you a quality engineer almost? I'm like, I don't know either. And he's like, oh wait, this sounds like some sort of a mistake. This is something. Okay, let me chase up with the management, etc., etc. So yeah, luckily there were two more developer openings in our office and stuff. So I just got switched to a developer role, and they opened up the position for a quality engineer again. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's somehow it so happened that they just wrote me and hired me for a quality engineer role. Where when
Yeah.
I was talking to the person, the mentor guy, I realized that I'm not going to be really doing much programming, or rather, not doing any programming at all. I'm supposed to be taking the user stories, which again I explained in the beginning, uh, because user stories always have states. They start off as in like in the backlog, then someone takes them up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we write, well, they get like refined so that you would know what you're doing. Then you take them into development, you do testing, and then you put them on for QA, the quality
Mm-hmm.
assurance, right? And then from there, the quality assurance people, the software quality engineers, take it up upon themselves because that's their job to like test the user story and make sure that the acceptance criteria, I think it's called, is matched, which is
Right.
like, if we remember in the beginning how I said, you click the button and hello world appears, that is what the quality engineer would do. He would like take it, try to break it, press the button, see if hello world appears. If it does, he's going to be like, okay, this works. So that's their job, which means they're not really creating
Hmm.
anything, but they're still crucial because you
Yeah,
need to
of course.
ensure that the quality of the software is being like produced like proper. Because like if it slips through, then oh well, it breaks, and then everyone just looks at each other and think like, oh, so what happened.
Hmm.
But I just felt like I wasn't well, I felt like I was in the wrong place. And that person, I think, well, hats off to him. I think he's been in the company for like 30 years, and somehow the first thing that he said to me is like, oh, you don't strike me as a QA. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, do I not? Yeah, I'm probably not. I don't know what it is. And he's like, okay, let me fix this. And yeah, so now so I was moved to a developer role. So that's a funny story of my hiring process. I don't know what happened. I mean, because I asked him like, oh, so what does that mean? Will I not be able to do a QA job then? But then he's like, well, you will be able to. You can.
Overqualified.
Yeah, he's like, you can be trained up to be a QA for sure. But he's like, but you're probably not gonna enjoy it, would you? I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much. In a way, that's true. So I am happy that I was put back to like, well, not like put back, but like put into a developer role. And
Hmm.
yeah. And in the very
Yes.
first, well, the second week rather, I managed to solve one user story because one guy went on like a holiday for 2 days before the weekend, and I just picked the
Yeah.
story up, and I solved it. And dude, it was such an accomplishment. I felt like a god. And well, then this week came when there was like a really complex the story task that we need to work on, and I feel like I'm useless. So it's like highs and lows and highs and lows. It's a weird
Hmm.
ride that has been with work. Eh, but it's okay. You know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
So,
it's something that's supposed to pay you money, and you're supposed to like
right.
provide them with enough, work quality, and you just do the things that you're assigned to, and do the things that you're supposed to do. And they pay you money. I mean, it's a capitalist society, all that stuff, all that jazz. So at the end
Yeah, I
of the
mean,
day,
for
it's
sure.
something that pays money. You know.
I mean, to be honest, that's how society has worked for a very long time. You do a job and you get paid, and
Yeah, some sort of an
and you can
exchange.
live.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
right. It's very, 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 very neat. And also, you're mentioning the user stories a lot, and I find it actually interesting because in say manual labor, I don't know, you're building a house. There is like a process, but to everything, like you process the materials in some way, and then you arrange them in some way, and then you maybe like nail them together if you're the
Hmm.
carpenter or something, right? And it's all in front of you. You see it. It's tangible, right? But with the user stories, how you describe the different states that they're in, for example, the process that they go through from start to finish, for like I don't identifying them, then refining and whatever else.
Hmm.
It's interesting that there's just like this cute model that is just followed, but it's
Yeah.
just like it just kind of emerges, like somebody comes up with it, and now this is the way we're going to do things. But there's nothing like tangible, I guess, to tell you that this is working, other than the fact that everybody's doing it and
Hmm.
it's showing results, right? But like, what are your have you thought about this at all, or
About
have you had
the agile methodology specifically, you mean?
yeah, how like there's a process that has been accepted, and now everybody kind of like follows it step by step. Like it makes life easier because we kind of all are on the same page on like have some terminology that we can communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, Nothing's perfect in life, right? There's always different things that could be improved, could be better. But in this case, it's just like using a glass of water to drink water, right? We came up with this process of containing water inside of a container and consuming it.
mhm.
And who's to say that this is the best way? Remember how in uni and in our first year we were encouraged to rethink the way a bottle works, right? Um,
Yep.
but like at the same time, it helps people communicate with each other. It helps them understand each other and helps them get the work done. So in this case, yeah, this user story thing is like, yeah, it is a methodology that is being followed, and it's something that was developed by someone. Again, not some holy. What's the um,
Holy Grail, I guess.
in Lithuanian? There's this saying like the pots aren't being made by like it's like gods or whatever. Like when you make like clay pots back in the day, it's like, well,
Mm.
it's not like gods are making them. It's like normal people are making them. Potters are making pots. So same here. You probably have someone who specializes in increasing productivity of teams, uh, be it programming or football or anything. Because in football, for example,
Yeah.
well, the game is a game, which makes it so that one way of playing it is potentially more efficient than the other. And then now everyone starts to follow this meta,
Mm.
because, it's more efficient to kick with your legs.
Yeah.
Because if you touch it with your hands, well, you're gonna get punished for it. So no one is kicking with their hands. And
Hmm.
what's to say that this is also not a process that someone, it just emerges.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I
That's the easiest way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But also the meta, like the meta kind of paradigm, that kind of idea is interesting. Like how it's you're going to be on level ground if you just follow the meta instead of just trying to innovate. Like you might do better if you try to innovate, but if you just follow the meta, at least you're like on level ground with everybody else. So like you're
yeah.
doing what works already.
No, yeah, because at the same time, innovation is one. Well, the thing is, you need to understand this about innovation. Like, if you're going to try to innovate, there's like 0.5% chance that you're going to succeed, right? No one's talking about the unsuccessful attempts. So,
Hmm.
especially in a huge corporation and in where someone's job is to manage a project, they're going to say,
Hmm.
okay, we have a few choices, that have been tested, tried and true, and we're going to use one of them, and then boom, they implement something, and that's it. Now we have agile methodology being used inside of like teams, and that's why we
Hmm.
have agile being taught in uni,
Yeah.
rather than someone trying to innovate and create something, but then most of the time fail, for example.
Yeah.
And you would rather have something work at a 90% efficiency rather
Hmm.
than
Yeah.
fail 5 times trying to establish 100%. You know, um, there's always there's always these like sacrifices in a way. Uh, the things that physics, for example, right? There's no perfect. What does it say? There's no perfect system, or there's no perfect engine, or whatever. There's always
Yes.
something where it leaks out. There's energy
Yeah, they
loss.
call it efficiency. Yeah.
Yeah, efficiency or something. Yeah.
Yes. Energy efficiency, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Like there's always a loss of energy in some way in
Yeah.
systems,
And you just, in a
and
way,
well,
we accept it now, and well, that's it.
just went on like shoot on a tangent. I don't know how to bring this back.
It's okay. We can leave it there. Or we can also talk about something else. Like, I don't know, how you been doing yourself. Any
I mean,
any thoughts of
we can keep it precise.
any thoughts of jobs? I mean, yeah, you still have like a year of uni, but yeah. Any
Yeah, I mean,
any
I
clearer
mean,
vision of what you want, like academia or maybe work or maybe what?
we can keep it on the job stuff though. So I've been looking at an internship, um, that I might have an interview for. Um,
Oh,
so I mean, it's
nice.
only one, and I'm not, to be honest, trying like really hard right now. I've got like
Hmm.
about 2 months left, like or something, until I'm back at university again. I wasn't trying very hard for an internship from the very beginning of my break, to be honest. But this opportunity just kind of came up, and it was from a coding competition that we both took part in. the organizing company spoke about potentially doing internships or planning about doing internships. So I literally just hit them up about it. One of the organizers or one of the representatives, I guess, um, and we had a call about something else about feedback for the Unicode competition. And I'm supposed to be. I don't know if it's going to happen. Hopefully, be getting a call at some point from. I think it's going to be the CEO or a team lead of the in the company. That sounds grandiose, but they are kind of like. I guess a startup is kind of like a cliche word to use, like,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess they could be classed. I don't know the size of the company, but they're innovating and they're filling the space. I don't know if I should. Yeah, they're kind of like trying to do something with making a better link between people trying to find employment in the field or switching job. No, not switching jobs. Yeah, sorry, I don't understand it well enough to explain it. They give me a little presentation about it, um,
Yeah, yeah, I
about
understand
what
what
they're
you're saying.
doing, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like after that one presentation. I don't remember their entire thing. Yeah, but they're
Yeah,
essentially it's
naturally.
like they've got their platform of showcode, like where they want to have people do competitions and like host their achievements, post their achievements and like have their projects or something,
Mm-hmm.
do projects and other. It's a lot of things that he was telling me, a lot of plans for the future for their company, but essentially they just want to kind of help the link between people trying to get employed in tech and also uh, where yeah, help, but they're trying to make money. They're a company, so their whole thing is like there's a lot of companies that are trying to move into the tech sector that you wouldn't expect to. So
Mm.
companies like I think Marks and Spencer's maybe or Next, and I would have thought they would just have a sub company with a different name, but apparently they've got this image, and they're going with they're just branding themselves with their actual name Next, right?
Mm.
Uh, and they've got this image problem where people don't associate them with like I don't know software engineering or something.
Okay, yeah.
But apparently that's a sector that a lot of these companies are moving in because these are just companies that have a lot of capital. So there's no reason for them not to move into this sector, I guess. And that's blowing up right now.
So it's like Marks and
Uh,
Spencer's software.
yeah, and I always actually wondered. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like it makes sense that they're filling this gap because I've always wondered when I saw like what is next wanting me for as a software engineer, right?
Mm.
When I see job postings or whatever. And it's like, oh, because they're actually moving, like they don't need you for like to make a website for them or something or maintain like their database.
Right.
They're actually like moving into tech, like doing stuff in tech. I don't know what exactly, but yeah.
That's
And he was
interesting.
telling me about the whole thing about like how people move in tech or well at least like programming and stuff move jobs a lot like roughly every 2 years and how it costs companies a lot
Oh yeah,
to
that's true to be
yeah.
fair.
So that's their whole thing. I don't know how. I don't probably explain it the best, but I only just got one presentation on it.
I mean, yeah, it is true. Like for me, for example, all the software that I required for my job, I requested through the company and I got approved, and it was around like I think it was at least $1,000 worth of software licenses for a year, which means they just, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna like blow $1,000 on this guy just so he has access to his software and stuff for a year, and then boom, maybe next year they're gonna have to upgrade it, or like renew it and stuff. It's another, so it's like yeah, they are paying money for you to have software. They send you a laptop, all that stuff. But then, for example, if you move, literally like after a month of they get you the software, it's like boom, 11 months of subscription has just been wasted and stuff. And
Yeah,
it's just such mundane things, but I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. Like it does cost companies like to like onboard you, and like it takes,
yeah,
like even now, I've been sitting there for a week looking at the screen, trying to like grasp the concepts of it, but I'm pretty much costing them money because I'm not like creating something. I'm just like trying to learn it before I can actually innovate and like, or continue rather with what's happening and stuff. So yeah, it does make sense in a way.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess to bring it back to the internship thing, 'cause we've been talking about this kinds of stuff. Uh, Actually, yeah, he was kind of like telling me of what the internship would be, and it was actually just like a separate project that like the interns will work on, because like to integrate you into the company to work on the main product, it would like take a lot longer than you have time for in an internship. I just
Yeah.
thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard like even in our company, yeah, well, interns usually, and actually not even not everyone does that. Like I remember during this like career fair kind of thing where we went and talked to the companies, and I remember there was this person talking from one of the other companies, just talking about how interns created this uh, informational system for a display in the office, so they have a TV and interns just created like the whole software to run it. So like they pulled bus routes, like put like a bus, what is it, like a bus schedule of closest bus stops. They put like
oh,
weather information, calendars like meeting schedules, meeting room availabilities, and they pulled it all into one big TV and made it look nice and stuff. And that was their, summer project to like build this
yeah,
informational station, which is being used to this day, as they said in the office. So it's like, yeah, it is kind of like cool things that interns would do. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's not something that would be like directly related to the actual business of of the company, for example.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a yeah interesting debates for maybe for later when I'll have more experience and maybe we'll see how your interview and all that stuff goes and stuff. We'll see.
Hmm.
Um, for
Yeah, I
now, I
hope this
think.
would be like if you're just going to wrap up the podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I thought like this episode I would think might be kind of cool for people still in university to kind of hear
Mm.
of what's ahead of them. Kind of
Hmm.
like make this link, kind of like, you know, because there is this kind of disconnect. Like a lot of people don't know what's ahead of them, don't know what they should be doing, focusing on and stuff. Maybe too worried or something. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
The real world will come either way, and whichever field you're in, whichever things you're studying, whichever jobs you're gonna go into, you're gonna find something. There's no way you're gonna like be unemployed in this world where like it's just so difficult to be unemployed. And it's a bold statement, but in a way, if you're especially if you're listening to this, you probably are in uni or something, right? Which means, well, you are ahead of a lot of people. And yeah, it's just if you have a diploma, a degree for something, there's no way you just stay unemployed. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Um, Again, everyone's situation is different, but yeah, I just feel like it feels scary in the very beginning, but then once you get into it, you just, keep
yeah,
keep rolling.
yeah. I don't know. Like, see personally, not to, I guess maybe go on a tangent, but I feel like computing is like, or maybe a lot of like sciencey things that you go to university for. But let's just stay on computing because we're computer scientists. It feels like it draws you in as like magical, very cool stuff. What programming is like, you don't really understand it at first, and like your whole thing is trying to understand what it is
Hmm.
and how it works and stuff. But then at the end of the day, what eventually it becomes is just a job. You're literally just programming a machine, right?
Hmm.
Uh, with some instructions to do something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you think it loses its magic and it just becomes what it is, a job? Do you think like that's how we become drawn into these things because of the mystery?
Well, you choose your path too. Everything gets, you know, what's the romantism? What's
Yeah,
the there used to
romanticized.
there used to be this no like a specific era of literature.
Romanticist. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
romanticist literature or something, and their time of the day was night. It was like poetic, and night, as you know, shadows hide the actual figures and shapes and all that of things and objects, and everything just seems so different. And maybe that's why I love the night. When I go out to like take photos, I like night photography because it just, it hides the imperfections of everything. Um, so in a way, when you're going into something like that, you're slowly clearing out the fog, you're clearing out the night, the dark, and then once you get there, I think with every kind of profession, you're
hmm
gonna get to a point where I don't know. Well, imagine someone's like, "Well, I want to be a doctor," all that. You're sure you're thinking of what? I'm not saying that like doctors
saving
think,
people.
yeah, but you're like you want to save people. You want to like also like be a prestigious, talk to amongst friends. Just say, "Oh, it's like doctor someone." But then at the
Mm.
same time, well, you're gonna have very very interesting things to go through too. It's
Yeah.
like you're gonna I don't even know what because again, I don't know crap about that profession, but there's always the more difficult side, and then you need to deal with bureaucracy on top of that. It's just not
hmm
not the so every kind of profession is going to have that. But what I meant to say is a painter, for example, paints these beautiful things and like they do, but at the same time, they're only, splashing colored water on like a piece of paper, right? So if you
hmm
put it in like simple terms, naturally it's always going to be weird. But people have to have something to do. And if that's what you do, is that you create code for machines to run because
Yeah.
that's essentially eventually going to help someone out by
Yeah.
on the other end. And I mean,
Yes.
it's
Yeah. I
it's
don't want
it's
to
a whole
put it
thing,
in a pessimistic like
No, I see what you mean. It's not a
light. I'm
pessimist. I
just
know
like
what you mean.
talking about it how I have worked like on a construction site, and I'm literally just there to do my job and get paid, right? I don't
Yeah,
like fantasize about it at all or
yeah,
romanticize it, but I have done that, of course, about this field because it's like a mystery, and I like the metaphor that you used about this the shadows and stuff. Um, and the way I thought about it, the kind of metaphor or analogy that I used was like a magic trick. It's like once the magic trick is explained to you, once the secret is revealed, it's like it's not
yeah. It doesn't
really
become magic anymore. It's like,
yeah,
yeah. Well, maybe for
it's not that
example,
exciting.
maybe I want to be like a racing driver, right? But then what am I seeing? I'm seeing the podiums. I'm seeing the cheers, the ladies, the champagne, the
hmm
glory, and the fast times put on the timesheet. But there's so much testing that it's involved. There's so much stress. Imagine you crash a car, which is like hundreds and thousands of like dollars, right? And then, well, first of all, you don't really own it because like it's your team's, it's your, uh, if you're racing for like a team, right? And it's
hmm
so much more. And again, it's just a very simple example, like a racing driver, right? There's so much more that goes into it that we don't see. And yeah, you're right. We are romanticizing certain things. But yeah, I feel like once you actually get there and you realize what your job is, um, you always have you can change it. You can go into a field that you actually like. But it's all about choosing what you think you'll enjoy. And it's never too late to pivot and just go into something else. Today we were doing like an informal introduction because we had a new product owner hired, and we were doing
hmm
informal introductions, and one of the guys was like, "Okay, so we're just gonna go around and say who we are, what team we work in, well, what team we're from, and tell everyone what you would be doing if you weren't doing this job that you're doing, like as in computing. Like if you weren't into going into computing career, what you would be doing. So it was interesting to hear everyone's like perspectives of like what they would be doing else if they weren't into like computing and stuff. And I also had to like give it some thought too, because I'm like, oh wow, well that's an interesting question. You know, I was like, what would I be doing? You know, but at the same time, that pretty much just means that you could pretty much just quit, turn 180, and go follow your thing that you just said. You know, about a different career, because no one's preventing you from doing it. Um, so it's all about that. Life is an interesting roller coaster. You just gotta keep riding it. It's all about that. I'm not gonna preach about the meaning of life because I don't know what it is, but
Hmm.
people create their own meanings, and
Yeah,
you know,
I think you might find that the roller coaster gets awfully, um, not to say boring, but and if you would actually metaphorically consider it as a roller coaster all the way through, as a roller coaster later in life, I think it would be a pretty boring roller coaster.
mm,
If you know what I mean.
mm,
It's like
potentially.
as things like stable out and like as you become, I don't know, a senior programmer, you're pretty secure in your job and stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
but the
like
thing is,
yeah,
you're always free to choose. You're always free
yeah,
to.
I'm not like I
Uh,
think you're I don't know if you're I'm not trying to sound like awfully pessimistic or anything. I'm just like observing. Like I'm
no,
not
I
saying
know
the
what you mean. Yeah, obviously.
future is boring and like there's nothing there for us. Might as well just not bother. No, I'm just saying like yeah, just
You have
thinking
a
about like oh
choice. You have a choice to stay comfortable. That's the thing. Especially if it's a big company, especially if it's like a big corpo, there usually is a choice for you. You can just stay there, keep working. You're gonna become um, a a more knowledgeable person in that specific area. At the same time, if you're happy with your pay, it might even be, well, for company naturally it's more beneficial to have you on, because now you know that thing so well that you
yeah.
can more efficiently do it. For example, I was watching this webcast of the CEO of the company. There was like a They were from Atlanta doing like a stream, and there was people in the audience, etc. And they were also gifting these like maroon jackets, they're called, and they're being given out to someone who has uh, to salespeople who have matched a sales quota for 25 years.
Mm,
Like for 25 years, not necessarily in a row, but it's like, for example, you worked in a company for 30 years, and if for 25 years you've matched your sales quota, so if they're like, okay, sell $5 million a year of product for us, and if you do that
mm,
each year, you get that thing. It's like a company's kind of like thing, and it was nice to see people who were like, you know, stepping. I think there was just like two people, and one of them was retiring, and the lady was retiring, and she said, "Yeah, well, this was gonna be my job out of high school, or no, actually out of college." So she graduated college, and she said, and there's no way I'm staying here for longer than 2 years." And she's like, "Oh well, but here I am." So it's
mm.
like she mastered the art of sales. She managed to like, you know, it's just it's cool to see in one way. You know, it's like everyone has different goals, aspirations, and all that. But this is like I myself am torn between things like mastery of one specific thing and being very good at it, so that you would be useful in that specific field for everyone, because everyone goes to you because you're such a master in it, or actually just like spreading across all the different places where you're not really, you can't really like, get in too much on something, but
Yeah,
at the
well,
same time,
having a like a breadth of knowledge. I mean, the place I think you'd be heading with that is a CTO. You know, uh,
potentially, yeah.
project owner or product owner or project manager or something, and then eventually in 10, 20 years time, the CTO of some company. Like you just like have knowledge of everything technology, and then you just assign people to do things, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I could. Yeah, you're right. I could see it in that way. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. Some things like you have to strive for something. Like you have to have some goal in the future. I don't know. Currently, that's that's all for me. To be fair, I
Yeah, same.
I will be able to share maybe something more and like later on when I'll have more experience like programming and other stuff in here. But so
Yeah, I
far,
think it would be interesting to hear
yeah,
an update.
yeah. Well, because as I say, so far I've been like a fresh joiner, So even if I've been here for almost a month, what is a month in these terms, Especially when you have like 2 week sprints, those 2 week, every 2 weeks you just take up new tasks, And then so it means I've only been part of like one or now the second one actually. Um, and there's only so many things that you can take up. So yeah, uh, I'll have more experience in the future. Yeah, that's about it. The podcast. Gotta call it something to do with joining the big corpo, the big
Oh,
world of
I've
corpo.
got I've got one more that we've got to cover.
Oh,
How are you finding uh your free time and how you utilize your free time has changed since starting to work full time?
oh, it has actually a bit. Feels like.
We've got to
Yeah.
cover these things. It's important.
I feel like we could do a more structured one, which wouldn't be an hour long, because this one feels like it's an hour long thing where the information is scattered across. But yeah, but to quickly say it, I guess. Yeah, it does feel a bit different. Like you want to have your free time spent a bit more focused. In a way, you're like when you're gonna be free, and you can't do too many things. Um, but it also feels draining sometimes. So I've noticed myself watching a bit more movies, just chilling.
Mm.
And yeah, like, I don't know, we went camping. We went like, I was in a party yesterday too. So it's like just random things like that where you choose what you're going to do with your day or the rest of your day. But I wasn't feeling the urge to like go and program yet. Um, because it does feel draining
Yeah.
currently. Maybe it's just also need to get into the rhythm of things.
Yeah.
And
We'll see how it goes, and we'll have an update, I'm sure.
yeah, like it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know. Actually, I want to go to the office in a way.
Mm.
In a way, I would like to, or at least there was this quiz or like a survey rather done for all the employees around here in the Dundee office. Was like, what do you think about coming back? What would be your concerns? What would be how would you want to go, and like what do you think? And it's all like confidential out there, but the thing is, it's like um one of the one of the options for how would you like to come back to the office was like, or is it like ad hoc access to the office, something like, almost like I would like to have a choice to come to the office when I want to and not come to when I don't have to.
Mm. Yeah.
So I
Uh,
would potentially need to have, well, I would like to have the office, but
yeah.
then at some points I would potentially feel like, oh, I just want to stay home. So it is
Yeah.
a difficult thing to say because I've never really worked from the office. So
Hmm.
I don't know if I'd like it, but I'd really want to like test all the opportunities
For
and
sure.
stuff because it's
For
more
sure.
focused. You go to the office, you do your things, you come home, that's it. You detach. At the same time, no, I'm pretty good. I heard there's some colleagues who can't really like shut off their computers properly. They just still like have their computers on, and then they just like check it from time to time after work.
Oh yeah.
Even though, well, we do have like flexible hours, which means like you could like not do anything from 9 to 5 and then just like work from like
Mm,
5 to midnight or like whenever the time is. But it's like eh, normality, which has been an established concept,
yeah.
is an established concept because it works. 9 to 5, that's it. Shut off your computer, come back to it tomorrow at 9.
Hmm.
It's simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, something to consider
We
for
can
mental
certainly
health
we
as
can
well.
certainly
But
talk, yeah, mental health and all that stuff. It's important. We can certainly talk more about this and the mental health and the corpo aspects, and especially if there's people who are interested in this, we can, talk about more specific topics because
yeah,
the knowledge is there. I'm willing to share it. If it's not confidential or all that stuff, I'm willing to share my personal experiences for sure. Because like,
yeah, yeah. I think
if,
it's yeah,
you know,
very cool, very useful. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, certainly we can come back with a more structured thing. I'll probably review this episode myself, and then maybe we can get other people's input as well on what they would like to hear about the corporal life.
the hashtag corporal life. Yeah. Yeah, it's true though. Well, I'm part of it now, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, I'll only stay for 2 years. So. 20 years later. Oh shit.
I'm retiring already. Yeah, that was is like happens. And not to say it's a bad thing.
No, I'm just
Everyone gets
memeing.
there. Everyone's get there. No, I'm not saying that you say that it's a bad thing. It happens. It happens. And in life you just roll with it, see what happens, see what's the best way, and yeah. Okay. Well, it was a nice pleasant chat. I appreciated the
Yeah,
listening and questions and all that. It was awesome sharing.
that's very, very insightful, actually. So thank you for that, Marius.
Ha! The inside scoop.
Yeah,
Very
totally not
insightful.
intended.
Nice. Well, thank you anyone who's listened. Thanks, Oscar, and see you hopefully next week.
Yep. Goodbye.